Attention Pokemon players, you are listening to Triple P, the Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast. I am your host, Jake Abrams, alongside Nick Yurko, aka the Duke of Hobbies.
How we doing today, Nick?
I'm doing well, Jake. I'm doing well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you know why?
Why is that?
We just did our first episode around the board.
Yes, it was very fun. I was not expecting to have as much fun as I did, especially not going into it as prepared as I thought I was.
Yeah, well, hey, it's a good conversational piece, and so I was excited to finally bring that back. Finally had the time to kind of work on that, and now, I think we're going to get into the full swing of things with that too. So that's going to put us at 3 whole different shows.
Yep.
For Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast, which is crazy. I didn't expect us almost getting close to a year since we've been doing this now.
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of crazy to think that we've gone from a podcast to a monthly show to probably another monthly show with that.
Well, I think that Around the Board could be very, very popular because Around the Horn was super popular. Mm-hmm. And I think this can catch on pretty quickly, just with all these Pokemon talks that we can have with a bunch of different guests. So it was fun. Can't wait to get other people on and kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. I'm very excited for it too. But I also think you have some really cool news to talk about real quick.
I do. So I'm officially Players Cup 3. I'm going to the next round. I made the cut. I didn't think I was going to, like I said many times, with my slow start every day. But I did it, and Cashman, I am a man of my word. So as soon as I get those deck boxes in, you're going to get some Players Cup 3 swag.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, I think again, it was awesome watching you, and I like that one day your stream where you just went on a tear. And I'm even keeping true to my word from last week too. I've already, looked into a couple tournaments to be ready for in the next couple of weeks too. So I'm looking forward to getting more involved on that end.
Very cool.
And I actually played a lot more Pokemon this week than I had in a little while. And we're going to get into that later in this episode. Yes. Why? But, we got a special guest we got to introduce here today because it's not just us this week.
No. Okay, and we're joined by a very special guest today, John Lopez, better known as Sleepy Dreepy.
Hi, how's it going, guys? Glad to be here today, man.
Very happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again today.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know, introduce yourself. How long have you been playing, and what's your whole Pokemon career like?
I haven't been playing long to TCG. I mainly started back in 2019. I started collecting that January. Then I went to a pre-release on Broken Bonds and got hooked with the game and been playing ever since then. But I've always been involved in Pokemon. Like before that, I always played the games. I didn't play VGC, but I played a lot of Pokemon Showdown, Smogon singles and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
In college. So that was my main focus, just because I didn't have an income. So now when I got an income, I was like, I don't know, I just felt like the cards just full, but I felt like it was easier to get into a competitive scene with the cards than it was like with Pokemon the games, because you have to breed and it's a lot of time and it's just time I don't have. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, because that's why a lot of us we all play the video games, but I can tell you competitive video game playing is insane and intense, and the people who dedicate to the time to it, not just like the collecting, the capturing, like Atrocious Jake does, but there's that whole competitive side. The amount of math is just brutal. I just can't believe it.
And I would say I personally always believe that the VGC is harder than TCG, just because there's a lot of unknowns in the VGC. TCG, you have tech cards and stuff like that that you play, and typically it's hidden, like if you're playing in real life. Right now we have open decks in most tournaments, but like once that card is down, you know what the card is doing. I mean, in VGC, you don't know exactly what they're doing. You have an idea, but you don't know if they have that secret attack that they're waiting and they're just holding on to use it at the right time. So
right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Wow.
so with you being our guest and the first time being on the show, we actually do a set of four standard questions that we like to ask each guest. So for our first question, who is your starter? Who was the first starter that you picked?
My first starter was actually Pikachu. I started with yellow.
Nice.
But
That's
my
the first.
favorite, my favorite is Squirtle.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that I
Awesome.
started with yellow. I don't remember why. I think it was just the game I saw. It's probably because I watched the anime and I was like, "Ooh, I want Pikachu." But
Can't blame you for
Completely
that.
understandable.
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. So, past the starter, what's your favorite Pokemon in general?
I would have to say it's not Dreepy, believe it or not. It's actually
What?
Gallade. And the reason why, and a little story behind Sleepy Dreepy was I couldn't come up with a fancy name for Gallade. So
That's
Gen 8
funny.
came out and Dragon Ball was like one of my top, it's probably my favorite from Gen 8.
Yeah.
And I was just like, maybe I could do Sleepy Dreepy. And I was like, oh, that's a cool name. I was like, and then turns out a lot of people love that name. So I just went with it.
It's a
Yeah.
good name.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
It is a good name, and your logo is awesome. It just kind of fits all the way all in there.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite card in the game? Now, this can be for any reason, whatever. So, artwork, just the way it plays. It doesn't have to be just standard either. So, just your favorite card in the game.
I want to say my favorite card in the game would have to be Lucario Melmetal. Lucario Melmetal. I played Luke Metal since it came out in Sword and Shield a lot. That was the main deck I played. I actually played the hybrid version, if you guys don't remember that, when it first came out, and it played ADP as a tech.
Oh, I do remember having the days of ADP and Luke Metal. In the
so what I did was, and I did very well locally with it. So like basically ADP was there for the single prizers because at the time Luke Metal Zacian just struggled with single prizers because so you would play the ADP route instead, go Altered Creation with the Aurora energies, can still serve as metal when you're going the Luke Metal route. So
yep,
that kind of helped there.
Oh, that's a pretty cool deck. I wasn't very good at the time and I didn't know what was going on. So all I do remember is having both of them in there and like, man, they're just options for whatever they want to play against. So
yeah, basically. And funny story was it for our first cup, I didn't have a full playset of Zacians. So instead I didn't have I only had two. So instead I put a 1/1 line of Caparaja with the muscular nose.
Oh geez.
And it actually won me a game against Sea King. Just kept attacking Sea King.
Wow.
Yeah,
because he's so slow to get up and going, and the fact that you could get Copperjaw just belt something.
Yeah, it was
awesome,
insane. I was just like, well, it's a running joke in my. It's a running joke in my locals because I was just all you heard was muscular nose for like a whole game. They're like, "What are you playing?" And every time in our Discord, I would just randomly say muscular nose.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Cool. So going into our last standard question, what is the worst card for the game in your opinion?
I think right now, I feel like it's like everybody's saying this, but probably hammers. As much as I play hammers a lot with a lot of the decks I play,
yeah, I'm because the same.
Because I play Luke Metal, sometimes that's a debate whether hammers is needed in that deck or not. I also play a lot of Pikarom, and I'm also testing Inteleon right now with hammers.
Yeah. Inteleon's really good with his first attack on top of hammers, so it is a good card for that.
But the game hammers just makes the game enjoyable. Where honestly, I've been in tournaments where it's just like you won because you got a hit, and it's just it's annoying. And a lot of decks are just playing it, just slotting for a random decks, which I'm like not every deck should be playing hammers, but again, like games are so fast that like just getting that one turn where you miss an attack can make a difference.
I faced a Colossal the other day that was just like, hey, here's 4 hammers. I'm like, Why are you running? You don't need 4 hammers for Colossal. You already take a ton of damage, and it was like the Lilith Polka doll too. So it was like Mallow on a heel. I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, what am I doing right now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still 50-50 if Colossal should play hammers or not, because it is a slow deck. But in my head, I'm like, you're already slow, so you don't want to clog up your hands.
Yeah,
but I understand why
I
some
think you
people
got to
play
go
hammers.
Rotompona instead of those hammers, just to boost that consistency.
Well,
Yeah.
like I think it depends on the version you do, but like if you're the healing one, your consistency is already so low that you should definitely not be running the hammers. But
Yeah.
if it works, because if the hammers hit, that's a whole game essentially. But that's that chance you take, and so it drives me insane when I see that.
You're talking about the healing one, as in like the one inspired by Primal Groudon or something like that.
No, more like the one that like the Colossal that basically runs more Malalanas and everything, and it tries to hide behind Lilith Polka dolls because
I think we're talking about the same one.
Yeah,
I think Luke started that when it first came out. He didn't see much success with it. And I think he said he got it inspired by Primal Groudon, and then Flygon came and actually was the better successor to that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. Okay, so that's actually our 4 questions. We always love going over those with everyone, so we feel like we always learn a lot doing that. So thank you. And but before we kind of get into a little bit of a bigger topic of kind of what's happening and what to expect in the future, we want to go over some news that came out. And there's not a lot of news other than the fact that it was the 25th anniversary of Pokemon, which was a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool things that was happening. I heard one comment that was kind of funny, that Post Malone's graphics were better than the video game graphics, which
I didn't hear that.
Okay, but hey, I think that was really cool in regards to that. But Jake, how about you start us off with this new article that we saw on Poke Beach?
Yeah, so it's just 2 cards were announced for the Matchless Fighters. We got the Gallerium Surfetch. He's a single strike. He's a stage 1, obviously fighting type, 130 HP, with a psychic weakness and a retreat cost of 2. And he really only has, he has 2 attacks. He has 1 peck for 40 for 1 fighting, and then his second attack is a fighting colorless leech strike. It does 70 damage plus. If this Pokemon has a tool attached, this attack does 90 more damage, and this attack damage isn't affected by resistance.
Last part, I like that last part personally.
Yeah, I missed that when I first read that. I was like, oh, it is affected by resistance. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's another fighting card that can do damage and set up pretty easily, because it does have it is that single strike, so it can get set up by the Houndstooth. So it's just another utility attacker in these new fighting decks. What is your guys' initial thoughts on him? Do you think that we'll see him in the meta?
I'll let you take this
one. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like you could, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I feel like it's tough to get like single prizers working right now. Maybe after rotation, possibly. Just because of ADP.
Yeah.
And 3 energy seems like a lot, even though you could get it set up with Houndoom. That's 2 single prizers already that you have to. Well, two stage 1s you have to get set up. So that's but it does hit nice damage. So if you could get it going, it could be like a little nice rogue deck if you think like fighting weakness is going to be big at a tournament. Maybe I don't know, like.
Yeah, but with all this fighting love, I mean, Eternatus definitely is kind of getting pushed down, especially with the Moltres coming, or I'm sorry, the Zapdos coming out.
Yeah,
and it's already with Urshifu and some of the, and even Colossal to an extent. I kind of see that going down in play, and then plus with the Rusted Sword, I actually don't see Peak being played too much right now. So I don't know how much this is really going to have an impact, just off first glance.
I mean, interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, my bad.
No, you go ahead.
Again, like you said, all the fighting that we're getting, like the single strike, the rapid strike Urshifus, I think they're going to oversee this, And I think even like Donphan is better. Not Donphan, the Primeape is better than I would play Primeape over Galarian Surfetch any day if I was to pick a single prize fighting deck.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, the interesting thing about this is the fact that I hate the fact that it is a stage 1. If this was just a basic baby prizer, I think we would probably see a little bit more play. It is that single strike. It can pump up a ton of damage when you have that toll attached. So you're already hitting for 160. Like you said, if you do Houndooms and stuff with single strike energies, and for some reason you get 3 of them on there, but realistically you'll probably only have 1 or 2. So it's 180. That's a knockout of Eternatus. Possibly you could pump it up to 200 damage, 220 if you're really lucky or really forcing it. So that is tempting. But like I think you said, it's like there's a lot to go into just to set up a stage 1 with 3 energy. That's definitely going to die the next attack.
Yeah. And I mean, one way you could power this up is Karate Bell and double twin energy. That's one way to go about it.
Yeah.
But still, again, I still think there's a lot of stuff that's going to overshadow it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And there was one other card. So we have the Gallerium Breastplate. It's an item card, and basically it reads: if this Pokemon, if the Pokemon this card is attached to has Galarian in its name, it takes 30 less damage from its opponent's attack after applying weakness and resistance. So again, I don't know if this might see play right away. At least I can't think of anything right off the hop. Maybe some of these V Pokemon, like a Tanky something or other. Now the Copperages and stuff like that, do those say Galarian or are they just straight Copperages?
No, those are straight Copperages.
I'm not sure if I see a place in this meta or the meta coming up for this card.
They had to put Galarian on this though, because if they didn't, it would fit pretty well. But at the same time, you're matching Rusted Sword, and the only thing I can keep thinking of when I see this is in this same set coming out. I believe it's this set. It might actually be Battle Styles, is Toll Jammer. And if you're already getting Toll Jammer, I'd rather run Toll Jammer instead, because it does the exact same thing and fits on all Pokemon. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about Tool Jammer. So yeah, that's true. If you're picking between this and Tool Jammer, just pick Tool Jammer.
Right.
And again, I think the only thing is the Vs. Like the Galarian birds are one thing that I can think of that this could go on.
That's a good point.
But even then, like, do you really want to put that on them? Like, I think maybe Articuno, but I don't know when Articuno is going to see play just because of that ability.
Yeah.
Maybe you reduce damage with this, but again, it's like, why are you trying to reduce damage if that's not going to be active? And I don't think you put this on single prizes, because I feel like single prizes are such low HP that that 30 damage isn't going to do a difference.
Is this basically just Big Charm, but Galarian only? I mean, it's 30 health, and it's just kind of a weird thing.
Yes and no. The thing I'd like to think about with 30 less damage damage reduction or additional HP is that over time the damage reduction actually is giving you more HP, because the more you get hit into it, the more it's basically you're getting another 30 HP. That's why Luke Metals Ashin plays the metals over like other like Big Charms and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's a fair point.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, that's actually kind of it on the TCG side, and typically we only focus on TCG, but we kind of want to do a special shout out just again because of the fact that it was the 25th anniversary, and the big news from there, and we'll get to why this relates to TCG, is 2 new sets of VCG games. So we're getting the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, Brilliant Diamond, and what is it, Shiny Pearl? I think that's what it's called. But
Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl, I think it was.
Who knows?
Whatever.
Diamond
and Pearl.
It's Diamond and Pearl. It's Diamond and Pearl remade for your Switch. That's awesome in that regard. And then it's a prequel one, which is kind of going crazy with the fact that it's breaking away from the mold of the typical VGC, and you can what they showcased was you can kind of run around, throw Pokeballs, and just capture Pokemon in real time, which is finally, in my mind. And the only thing we want to bring this up is because of the fact that with these two games, that means that's what we're probably going to be seeing future-wise in future content after Sword and Shield. So going back to that era, which apparently, if you talk to a lot of veteran players, is some of their favorite cards in the game. I don't know how many times we've interviewed someone, they're like, oh, Diamond and Pearl, that was it. Black and White, they're like those two sets were just the ones they talked about. So who knows? Like, I'm really excited about this. I like, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Relating it back to TCG, I'm excited for the artwork. Just looking back at the style of the game, it seems interesting. And looking at, I wasn't around for Diamond and Pearl, but like looking at some of the arts from back, like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond and Pearl era of the TCG, the artwork looks great. It feels like more of a like ancient-y kind of like scrolly looking feel, like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Diamond and Pearl kind of bring, which is kind of interesting. So I'm excited for that at least.
Yeah.
And then as far as like the Arceus version of the open world, that just means that we have potentially of an Arceus V, so we can have some kind of V Pokemon that do prize trade. Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Probably not, because V takes place in Galarian only in the Galar region. So this is a different region.
Maybe.
So maybe.
Okay, so maybe it's the V Union.
I don't know. No, I honestly, I don't know. We might get a new game mechanic, and that changes it up, because they always try to do something different. And we had Megas, and now the Vs and Gigamaxes and stuff. So who knows? Like, we don't know how this might be. Like, maybe you have to capture your Pokemon in middle of the game. Like throw a Pokeball, find the Pokeball. Like you have a river of cards over there, and you're like trying to capture them live. Who knows? Yeah. That could be a fun format. So actually,
right before the 25th anniversary announcements, CEOs put something on Twitter. He's like, "What was it? Everybody's like wish list of what they want to announce." And I was like, I was close. I was like, I want a VR open world Pokemon game. Now they just forgot the VR portion. But imagine how sick this would be if this was VR, like first person. You can like see a Pokeball in your hand and throw it at the Pokemon, or even like trade, like you'll like point to your Pokemon and they can battle, do their thing.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Maybe
that would be insane. Yeah, but was it bring it back to the card? I think you're talking about new mechanics, but I think at least in the Diamond and Pearl remix, I think they're gonna intertwine Gigantamax or Dynamax back into those games, kind of like what they did with Oras. They Oras, they basically just said, okay, this is a new timeline. This is the Mega timeline. And they introduced Megas that way. So I think they're going to do something similar where something happened and Dynamax energy came to Sinnoh. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe with Legend Arceus, we might get a new mechanic. But who knows? I hope we do.
Yeah. What were those were the three legendaries in that one, right? So that was ADP.
It is Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina.
Yeah. So, I mean, those were. I enjoyed the originals. I did play those ones. I really like them a lot, and video game wise. So I'm excited to really dive into that world again, just because I think that was like in my period of like when I was playing personally, that like I just played the video games because I enjoyed playing the video games. That was most of my Pokemon experience. Like, I'm excited. I don't know. I'm just pumped. I'm very excited, and I'm also very excited how that impacts the game itself, the trading card.
Quick question, since we're kind of like talking about different mechanics and different like eras with like the Giga Max or whatever, and then we got the V Max. I know in the show in Journeys right now they do have the Mega Evolve kind of came back into the story alongside as the V Max. Do you think something like that could impact the game?
Oh God! If there's a Mega Charizard V Max, just imagine the card. Like just
Yeah.
like you just have
It is
this.
a jumbo card. It's like you just play.
You just put the jumbo card down, and you're like, okay, here's a $10,000 card on the table. You know.
Yeah. Correct me. I don't watch the show, but was the Mega Dynamaxed? Did the Mega Dynamax?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, so
okay.
basically, because I've been watching it with my son, and basically Karina came back and fought Ash and Mega evolved her Lucario again versus Ash. But she did not have a V version of that as well. That would be kind of crazy.
Okay. Cool. No, I don't think that's gonna change anything.
Okay.
That sounds like it's just the one of they brought an old character back.
Well, I mean, she did come back to the TCG in the next set.
Mm.
So that's another reason why I was kind of asking. But yeah, it's kind of like tinfoil hat kind of thing right there.
Tinfoil, yeah, because they did the same thing. I saw the Sun and Moon anime, but they did the same thing with like a couple episodes. They brought Brock and Misty, and they mega evolved their Gyarados, and Brock mega evolved the Steelix he had in a battle. So I don't think it's going to change much, to be honest, on the TCG side.
Very true.
All right, well, before we get into our main topic for today, then we're going to go take a small break and go right to the Whimsy Watch.
Hello, it's time for another Whimsy Watch. It was another fun week. We had a new set drop, plus it's the end of the month, Players' Cup ended, a lot of Pokemon being played out there. So let's see what was worth watching. So like I said earlier, this is the first full week we had with Shining Fates being added to the meta. Now I know it didn't bring a lot of new cards to the tables, but it did add some interesting twists to what's out there. That's going to be my focus on this week's watch. A lot of players wanted to brandish their shiny new rusted sword this week. Pure Zacian builds were up, with them taking just about 6% of the meta share. So this new item card didn't put Zacian straight into OP territory just yet, as Zacian only managed to hack and slash himself to about a 45% winning percentage. Another new fun addition was Crobat VMAX. It fit in at just about 3% of the meta share. This one makes use of the new VMAX of Crobat as well as Altaria for a solid hit and run game plan. Neither of these, Zacian nor Crobat, finished higher than top 8, so no big bang starts, but they should be around in tournaments in the future. Now down a different avenue, some players decided the amazing rares were the route to go. I saw builds for Kyogre, Reshiram, but Yveltal was the most popular. His Auto Oko, one-hit KO, was too tempting for players to try and make work. This wasn't crazy popular, but it was kind of neat to see. So Shining Fates added a few new wrinkles to the meta, but let's look at the top dogs this week. Eternatus finished with 17% of the meta share, Tempozard 11%, ADPZ at 10%, Centiskorch at 9%, and Pikarom at 8%. The big news was the Tempozard rise to number 2 in the meta share, as well as taking a few tournament wins in the process. ADP also saw a rise in its share, probably off the hype of Rusted Sword, but did not see any crazy tournament wins. And Eternatus once again claimed this top spot and secured wins along the way, proving again it's a force to be reckoned with. Well, that's going to wrap up another week and another Whimsy Watch. So go ahead and find me on Twitter at WatchWhimsy, and I'll see you guys next week. Back to Nick and Jake.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, so Jake, you kind of wanted to talk about this with Sleepy here, and this is for a while now. We've had a couple weeks of this, and we really wanted to talk about your impression, Sleepy, of the Shiny Fates meta that we've seen here. We know that certain cards like Rusted Sword is now available, but and how that has impacted the game. But like, how are you seeing the game being impacted with Shiny Fates, and what have you been playing?
With Shiny Fates, I don't think it changed the meta much, to be honest. But right now it's making ADP basically be insane. ADP Pikarom used to have a great matchup against ADP. I think depending on how you play the game, I would say 60-40. If it felt like, at least when I played Pikarom against ADP, I felt like I was always winning that matchup typically. But with Russ's sword, like that's just Pikarom doesn't survive anymore with a big charm, so that makes it a little bit rough. And you can still KO. You can KO easily a Mewtwo Mew and Raichu without a big charm, so it makes that matchup a little bit harder.
Yep.
So Pikarom I've noticed is going down in play a little bit. And Luke Metal too. Luke Metal is like used to be. I think it was a 50-50 with ADP versus Luke Metal.
Yeah.
More favored toward Luke Metal if you're able to get the full metal wall right after the altered creation turn. But even then, sometimes it was a rough matchup because Luke Metal has inconsistency issues sometimes. So sometimes even then they could just come back Metal Saucer, and just take out your two Zacians or whatever.
Right.
So even that was an iffy matchup, and then Brustistor just says, "Okay, you full metal wall, your goggles don't do anything anymore." So that makes it rough. And but I am seeing a lot of increase in fire. Like I think Blacephalon has been seeing insane amount of the Tempozard, Crucephalon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Version, and Cinder Scorch has been seeing a lot of play. And right now, that's why I'm kind of testing Inteleon a little bit because I'm seeing a lot of fire.
Yeah.
I've also been messing with Turbo Zacian. Turbo Zacian, I've been mainly messing with a Cash's list that has the Rowlet, and that's insane. Nice. I looked at it and I was like, this is a clunky mess. What is going on here? There's so much going on. But when you play it, it feels so clean, and just being able to sword for 260 and then have the Rowlet at any time ready to take a KO and a VMAX if you need to, that goes to the bench. Is great because you could just Bird Keeper, then Rowlet just goes in and snipes the VMAX that you just KO'd.
You know what? You brought up a good point with Cash and his guys that like they all talk about in building decks like that. When he released that, it was insane. Like, a lot of people were just like, what are you doing? Like they had probably the same reaction that you and I had, and even Jake, I think a little bit like, Rowlet? Like, just kind of like, Cash, are you going crazy because you can't play Cinder Scorch or something like that? But no, I mean, like, oh my God, like, as soon as you sit down and you play it, you're like, yeah, okay, I get
the
this.
math works.
And then
for E-turn, you fix the math with Zigpings because you're hitting 320 and then you just do Zigs to finish it off. So it's insane. And then the Ditto VMAX is insane too because it's not as I see it more powerful in real life situations where you don't know what your opponent is playing. So you can freely, let's say you have the Aegislash, they also play Zamazenta. You can freely throw away the Zamazenta or the Aegislash, and then if you find out they're playing like a Rowlet or a VMAX deck, you could just play the Ditto down and then transform into that. And even just the standard, like I've seen it where I've done plays where I know the Zacian active, I just swung with it and it's going to get killed. So I play down the Ditto. And so even if they boss up the Ditto, I still have the Zacian active. And it's full of energy. So either play, I can still have another Zacian. And basically they kill the Zacian. I transform it to the Zacian and then quickly power it up again and then attacking again, like as if as the Zacian never died. So that has insane I just think it's insane, that version. I told Jake before the episode I had to bring this up because I feel so bad we missed the Ditto V ability, that transformation. Like we both weren't really focused on it because we were looking at the VMAX version more than anything. But that transformation ability, like you said, be able to swap in a dead Zacian all of a sudden and or do what you need to do, get what you want. Like I seen the Tricky Gym version, the Azul version, Little Dark Fury, I like his too, but they all have like that variation in there where they're just like, oh look, you're playing Cinder Scorch, melodic, oh you killed the melodic, they just keep bringing it back. And the counter box. And
then I can have a bunch of different Pokemon that have different weakness spreads, so depending on what you play, you just pull that card out. And I've seen that kind of version where it's like, oh, what's your weakness? I'm going to take that out, and that's what you're facing.
I will I had one game. I threw Memory Capsule in mine just because I wanted to try it, and for good, all right, and everything. But the so I was able to actually do some attaching one time, but I did. I did use Dedenne on my attack to static shock. Like I did the switch and like I used Dedenne and I brought Dedenne back and put it down. But my opponent put Dedenne up front, and I had a VMAX version of Ditto out there, and I used the GX attack there too. And I picked up my entire Ditto, who had like no health left, the VMAX, and pulled it back into my hand. And my opponent was just like, "Oh no." And then I brought in the next Ditto with it, and then I pulled up whatever the counter was at the time. It was just, it is so versatile, and like I just love it right now. And it's my personal favorite deck. Like, you know, Jake, what have you been kind of playing?
I haven't really gotten a hold of many new cards, or haven't had good pulls. So I really just stuck with the ADP Zacian with the Rusted Sword and just the Turbo Zacian or Rusty Zacian, however you want to call it, and both are super good. And to John's, you know, findings, the ADP mirror match, or I'm sorry, the Luke Middle match, it feels almost like a auto win unless you like completely dead draw.
Yeah.
And then as far as like Pikarom, same thing. Like it went from, like you said, and I would agree, like the 60-40, and I think it swung it even heavier onto the ADP side, where it's probably even more like 75-25. So yeah, I do think the biggest thing, and there are other, you know, those Ditto decks that you're talking about, and even like Cramorant, VMAX, and all those things that are remain to be seen how good they really are. But with the Rusted Sword, I think just the biggest thing is Pikarom and Luke Metal are almost unplayable at this point.
I wouldn't say Pikarom is unplayable, because I do see some people sinking into top 8s with Pikarom. Yeah, Pikarom is Pikarom. It's consistent. It's gonna do its thing. But again, I think it's like I think those are the like top level players. Like I don't think I'm a top level player personally can handle Pikarom in this meta. Like maybe before this, but not anymore.
Well, you bring up the top 8s and stuff, and I know that the Chill series conclude number 2's done now with a big win, surprisingly, from a Decidueye. So, you know, did you see that? Did you what's your thoughts on that?
Decidueye Goons is honestly, it's one of those decks where like I feel like it's always going to do well at the start of a meta, because people forget about it. People are trying to test these new cards. They're not worried about Decidueye. So it's always going to do well in that kind of meta, but once people start respecting it, it's kind of dies. One of my friends, actually, Ed Valencia, won a Heggies with which back in a while ago with Desi Goons. I think he was the one who added umbrellas because of Me Too and stuff like that. I made a whole video about it and everything. But again, I think it's one of those things where it's just like it's are people respecting it? I personally, it depends on the deck. Like if I can add attack easily, I will.
Yeah.
Like Luke Metal, you can easily add attack. So Turbo Zacian, same thing with ADP. But like something like Inteleon, if I'm playing Inteleon, it's harder to add attack. Yeah. So I just take the auto loss to it. It's fine.
Just what would you got a frost slap or something?
What?
Like Suicune would be like the best tech you could put in there, and that's not even.
It's not good. You have to go through 6 of them.
Yeah.
Your best bet with Inteleon is to just hopefully you set up fast to them and you're just sniping the Rowlets before they get to evolve.
Or you just keep denying the energy. I have one. I know I have one a game, and I think Jake, you watched this one where I just sniped off the energy and my opponent overdrew. Like they're like, oh great, you know, there's nothing they can do at that point. You know, like I walled off a wall.
That's true.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean that you know, when it comes to the Decidueye, again, like you said, it's something that has to be respected, and I think a lot of people forgot about it. And you know, we've seen in the tournament data that we've been analyzing and stuff that it was one of those things where if it was respected, it basically split 4-4 in a round 8 tournament. If it wasn't respected, then it just skyrockets right past everything.
Yeah, it skyrockets, and if it missed like Sentis and Blacephalons, which I think that's what's keeping it in check right now. There's a lot of fire out there.
Yeah.
So that's not completely dominating because people, ADP is strong, and then Turbo Zacian, we got Turbo Zacian out of this Shining Fates. So people are playing a lot of fire, so it's kind of keeping that in check as well. So
one other question though, as far as seeing the success, and actually the Decidugoons won in the finals against another Decidugoon, so it really was
was that the top 2? I didn't even see that.
So it was spreading off, and it had a really good weekend winning that Chill Series. But since this Chill Series is so close to the Players Cup 3 qualifiers, do you think that's going to heighten the top players' awareness to play those techs in there? And do you kind of see this kind of killing the Decidugoon's chances going into PC3 qualifiers?
I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to do that just because if I were to play PC3, I would have played the Decidugoons. I think that's a very risky play. So I don't even think top players would do that.
Yeah.
As a top player, I don't think you're going to take a very risky play into a tournament like PC3.
Mm-hmm.
It's just way too risky unless you really know that no one's going to play the techs. And like you said, it's doing decently well. I always see it. If it doesn't win, it's top 16 or top 8.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are going to play it for PC3, to be honest.
Do you think on the other side, though, the players that are not playing that list, do you think they are going to put the techs in going into the Players Cup 3 phase 2?
I think they are if they can.
Yeah.
Like I don't see why you wouldn't as ADPZ. Like it doesn't affect your consistency of the deck. Mm-hmm. And even ADPZ doesn't even need to add the tech technically, because if you play double Mawile, if you play those double Mawiles correctly, you could actually it could swing that game in your favor. Because and if you look at I think Mello's video on how to Mawile, I think that could help you too. So I don't think even ADP doesn't even need to play Aegislash. So if it doesn't want to, so and that's I think PC3 you're gonna see ADPZ everywhere, to be honest.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of because going into the whole qualifiers, I was playing Pikarom. I'm scared to play him right now. I tried doing just a tournament yesterday, the Pokemon Day tournament, and I played it, and it was limitless, so there was no ADP. But I went into 2 of the Turbozards, Rusty Swords, and I was like, "Yep, my day's over." I'm just like, I lost a second. I'm like, "Scoop, I'm done. I've had enough of this sword already." So yeah, I think. I'm scared to play that deck, so I think I'm kind of leaning towards ADP, unfortunately, as much as I've hated that deck.
I would boo you normally, but I can't. And like you guys both said, like it is literally, I think, hit the optimal version right now.
Yes.
And which is, we thought it hit optimal, and then they previewed Rusted Sword, and we're like, never mind, here it comes. Here it comes. And it's hitting like a truck right now. It's scary. It's one of those decks where even if you feel like I'm running 4 Tool Scrappers because I'm going to shut down that sword. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It hits you on the turn it plays it.
Yeah. Sword is an active tool. So like you can hold it and then play it and then use it right away. It's not like Goggles where like you play it and you hope your opponent doesn't have Tool Scrapper.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, but awesome. Okay, so were there any other decks that you kind of seen in Shiny Fates that you were a little surprised by in performance right now, or just kind of like
No, again, like I said, it's a lot of expected. Nothing. Shiny Fates didn't really change much. Again, like it just made ADPZ, a deck that already had kind of like 50-50s across the board,
right?
Make some of those matchups now like 70-30.
Yeah. Yep.
So like, I don't know, it's just insane.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's for sure the biggest card in the set.
Yeah. And I look forward to our Whimsey Watch monthly report for this month, for coming March, and seeing how Eternatus is impacted by it, because typically, not sure if you're aware, Sleepy, typically Eternus has always just been ahead on the tournament wins in the months. So who knows? This might be what brings it down, brings ADP right above it. I mean, it's always been close. ADP's always been second. So
actually, one deck I do forget. Crobat has been doing decently well. Crobat VMAX.
Good point. Yeah,
that was insane. I've always, the concept of a hit and run deck isn't like new. Yeah, but I saw that card and I automatically thought this is poison Morpeko, and Morpeko has done nothing. But it's insane. I guess we have more tools that hit and run, and also that big HP just makes it a lot better.
Yeah, it's tanky as heck. So you're basically not going to be one-shotting it, even if you gust it. So you're going to have to gust it twice to knock it out.
Right.
It's not easy to do.
Which versions have you seen played, or have you played against any of the Crobat Ps?
Just the Altarias. They play they go into Altarias or Dolls when they attack. That's the main version.
I played against one time against the Galarian Wheezing one. I hated that deck so much.
Really? I have not seen that. I don't see how that works. That's insane.
Because you rotate out and then they lose their abilities. So if they can't Dedenne that turn, like that's what happened to me. Like, okay, I'm gonna play the Dedenne this turn, and then you're just sitting there. You're like,
I didn't realize Wheezing affected Dedenne.
Oh yeah. It's
I guess
it's all abilities.
All abilities. If it's
I guess it's like Power Plant. You're right. Yeah, I forget. It's the same interaction as Power Plant.
Typically doesn't play the Wheezings, but it is kind of a good option to just kind of disrupt your opponent so they can't quite set up to do what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, you're basically sacrificing your Galarian, but if it slows them down enough for a turn, that might be all you need for that Crobat, because that might be you get the Altaria down, and then when you hit and run again, you can't touch this.
Now they have the balls every turn, and that's harder said than done. Harder done than said. Sorry.
All right. Well, with the Shiny Fates kind of, to go through that and everything, we have a new set coming out. Is it this month? It's March.
The pre-releases are coming out this weekend, or coming up weekend after this recording. Yeah. So I know a lot of stores are getting their shipments in, and you're going to start giving out those pre-release kits, and there are a few stores that are doing IRL. But for the most part, everybody's going to at least get a starter kit from their LGSs.
Yeah. So what's your kind of viewpoint on, what are you thinking about battle styles, though?
Well, first and foremost, are you single strike or are you rapid strike?
Oh yeah.
Oof. That's I think right now I'm rapid strike. I like decks with options. I don't really like, that's why I'm not a big fan of ADP myself. I feel like it's too linear, and I'm not great with that. I hate having like just a one linear strategy kind of thing. So that's why I think the rapid strike has just a lot more options with what you can do. Single strike isn't so straightforward. It isn't. It's more straightforward, but it has its complexities and stuff like that, because it's an efficient attacker at the end of the day. Yeah. With the outrage scroll, I forget what it's called. The outrage scroll.
Fury squirrel. Fury squirrel. Yes. Oh no, it gives you fury. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. People. I think people are starting to realize that it's a lot stronger than it first came out, and I would expect rapid strike to see single strike to see more play than expected. Yeah. Aside from that, I think it's going to change the meta, because I think it might pull E-turn out of the meta or see it downplay, because they could play weakness guard, but then Billowing Fan came out. Which is basically enhanced hammer.
No coin flips needed. No coin flips needed. Just take Billowing Hammer, it goes away. Boom,
For our listeners, as a preview to Around the Board, Billowing Fan is a big topic. So, it was we'll save that for the Around the Board talk.
I want to say,
but it was a good one.
I wouldn't say Pikarom dies, but I'm never the one to say that. Pikarom's gonna find a way. But it's just gonna make it harder, because people are saying, you have Mewtwo's. I'm like, but both of the Urshifus have Jirachi GX to take away that weakness, so it's like not. But we'll see. Somebody will find a way to make Pikarom work. It always does.
Maybe this is the end. I don't know. We'll see. Ditto.
If Ditto could pull up GXs too, there would be the ultimate. Like, just imagine you'd have Mewtwo and it discarded, and you're like, cool, I'll pull up Mewtwo all of a sudden. Like, it'd just be insane. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's fair. Are there any major cards that you'd like to see coming out of Battle Styles, or is there a card that you really didn't want to see come out of Battle Styles?
No, there isn't really a card I like to see. I think the set there's not a specific card I'm looking forward to in general. Mm-hmm. I think I'm just excited for the set and changing the meta a little bit. I feel like we've been in this meta for the such longest time, especially with the delay of the set a little bit. It's just I'm ready for something new. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yep.
And then rotation's not too far after that. Are you excited about with the rotation there a Sword and Shield up only meta? Like, what are you looking forward to in that field? I know that's looking far ahead, but
yeah. I'm just looking for, like, I just feel like there's gonna be a lot more viability in general. I think single pricers, just looking at Tablemons events, like I think Cinderace was doing well. So I think decks like that are gonna be able to do well. Maybe just a lot more Rillaboom decks could possibly do well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Grass decks in general. Welder's gone, so I think grass decks can come maybe more into play.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. What else?
No Dedenne, so it slows it down.
Yeah, no Dedenne, so it's definitely going to slow down the game a lot, I think. Yeah, but Krinkatoon. Yeah, Krinkatoon, you're drawing what, like
3 to 4.
It's up to 4, or you
4,
draw.
Yeah, you draw up to 4 if you're active. If you're on the bench, it's up to 3. So it's still not the draw power of a Dedenne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think, and it's like Sil Valley GX, right? It fills your hand up to 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, again, like it's gonna help, but it's not. Yeah, like I said, it's not to the level of the Dedenne, so it's definitely gonna slow down the game, I feel.
Okay.
Maybe pull out hammers out of the meta finally.
I think so. I think hammers will go away after rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're rotating, but I think just with the options, these decks aren't really worried about energy disruption because there's so many different ways to get energy onto your Pokemon that you just didn't have currently. So,
and I don't know. Actually, now speaking of hammers, it might go away with battle styles if single strike and rapid strike are good.
Yeah,
just because that double colorless, like if you knock off of the rapid strike energy, it doesn't matter. They could just attach another one. Right, it doesn't matter as much. So maybe we might see a reduced play in Crush Hammer, which now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's there's a lot of options, even Houndoom for single strike, that just everything. There's a lot more acceleration, which is kind of nice in a weird way. So plus Rose, there's always Rose, Jake.
Yeah, I'm starting to come around on the Rose train. I think there might be some viability coming up in the future.
Might be more viability after. I can see Rose being more viable after rotation too.
Yeah, I always bring it up because I like to bother Jake because I played it pretty early on.
You've been playing it since it came out, and it hasn't stopped.
I used it right away, and I would use Rose Tower, and I loved it. And then
I did too.
It won me. It won me your game, and that moved me to Final 2. So I'll take it. I'll take all the credit I can for that.
Hey, I got top 32 at Hexters. Was running Stone Journer VMAX.
There we go.
With Silvally. What was it? It was Silvally Rose. I ran 2 copies of Rose.
Wow.
Turbo patches. I just read the meta. I called the meta, and it was like there's gonna be E-turn everywhere, and I hit, and I was testing, and I was finding when I was messing with the deck, like it can still compete with all other. The only deck it really lost to was ADP, and I was like, you know what? If I hit all ADP, whatever. But I called it right, and I hit a lot of E-turns, and with a lot of the other Remaxes, as long as you can get it powered up and get the first hit, you're fine.
Exactly.
And awesome. And E-turn was just like clap. I made top 32, and I lost my last 2 games actually against ADP. My 2 losses because it's in order to get that game going, you have to play a lot of support Pokemon. So that's just easy. Yeah. Like the Denes, I was playing Crobat, Silvally, and Aldino all on my bench. So it's just easy targets for ADB.
Yeah.
No, but props for the top, what did you say, 32 with that? Like,
yeah, that was like early COVID.
That. Yeah.
That was like early COVID.
Yeah, but medicals like that are very impressive. So don't, like I just mad props for that, because again, it's amazing when we see someone do that. So that's impressive. Here we go. And then let's ask that, how do you prepare for a tournament then? And like you kind of review that, kind of looking into it. Do you try to do a major meta call like that often, or do you try to stick with what you like?
It depends on how I'm feeling. Like right now, since the meta's so stale, I'm kind of going more on meta calls. I'm meta calling right now that fire decks are going good, which is why I'm kind of concerned with Inteleon. Nice. But if I don't have time, I'll typically go to like something I'm comfortable with. One to like decks that I've been very comfortable with are mainly Pikarom, Luke Metal. Those are my two fallbacks if I don't really know what I want to play, or if maybe there's a week I haven't really been paying attention to the meta too much.
Yeah.
But there are some times where like I don't try and do meta calls. Because sometimes it's just you trying to do meta call, you're psyching yourself out. Like I've done that so many times where I think it was the last Limitless quarter 4. I wanted to play Ultimate Mewtwo, and its only bad matchup was Blacephalon, so I overtech 2 Tapu Finis and it killed me. And I still ended up losing to Blacephalon. I was like, why did I do this? I was like, I went 0-3 and I was like, I'm dropping. I'm breaking. What is going on? So honestly, making meta calls can still like kill you. Again, it's a risk. Like if you're making a meta call, it's a risk. But again, sometimes just consistency wins. To be honest,
for sure. Consistency is the name of the game in Pokemon.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jake, I out of questions now. How about you?
I think that's basically all we got. I think we went over a lot of good topics here. I do want to thank you for coming on. It was been awesome of you. Do you have any shout outs or plugs that you want to have?
Yeah.
No, not I have shout outs. Just go check out my channel, Sleepy Dreepy, on YouTube. I do a lot of deck profiles. I do pack openings sometimes. And I try to go on a level where I kind of explain to anybody who's new coming in. Kind of like that. My audience is mainly new to mid-level, kind of like my level.
Yeah.
So if you see me explaining things, I'd like to the T. I try to explain as much as possible my thought process. If you guys are new to the TCG, I actually created a new video that shows you kind of like 2 paths: a free to play and a pay to non-free to play way.
Yeah.
And kind of guide you kind of like 2 paths that you can take to play the game the way you want to, and probably the most efficient way possible. And I also give you guys a bunch of like content creators that I think are good. So if you're new to the game, go ahead and check that out. Aside from that, just also Twitter. It's Dreepy Sleepy, just because I messed it up when I was creating the account. And also my TikTok, Sleepy_Dreepy. And I also have Twitch. I'm not really on Twitch right now. I'm not really streaming, but if you want to go ahead and give me the follow, Sleepy Dreepy 885.
Nice. All right. And again, to all the listeners, all those links will be in the show notes down below. So, please check them out. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. I had a lot of fun talking the game with you. So
thanks, man. I had a lot of fun too.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Triple P, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you again for listening to the Triple P podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at PitPokePod. You can join our Facebook group and Discord server to play and chat all things Pokemon. Check out our YouTube channel, and we stream openings, matches, and events on twitch.tv/Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast.